Hey everybody, this is Derek from the sideline, and what we're doing now is we're going from the sidelines to the cross. And we're here with Don Brzezinski, Director of CrossLife Counseling, Vero Beach, Florida. You can hit him at the web at cross-life.org. And we've been talking the last few sessions we've sat down, or episodes, or whatever we're calling this. We still can't figure it out. Or this series. That might be the best way to do it. Although we're going to keep doing it, so I don't know if it's really a series. But we left off with a bunch of questions. We were kind of going all over the place. Now we're going to get a very, very specific, a very common thing. And we're talking about, not being performance-based. We've talked about that pretty much through everything, because that's kind of, is that culturally where we're at here, or is that just a general thing? We're very performance-based.
Well, first, Derek, thanks for having me back on the show. And obviously, it is culturally based, but it's all the way culturally based back to the fall of Adam and Eve. Okay. That's where it began.
So we can't say like we're particularly worse than anybody else. We're all on a performance-based gig.
I think
that's a big lie.
History will prove that.
Okay. So so that brings up when we talked about not performing, not doing that. Okay, what about doing good works? And then this is where we left off last time. Faith without works is dead, and in James wrote in there, and you're probably going to read from it, and we'll go from there.
That's true. James, a few verses about this whole topic of, faith without works is dead. For example, in James chapter 2 and verse 18, he says, "But someone may well say, you have faith, and I have works. Show me your faith without the works, and I will show you my faith by my works." That's an interesting statement. And then in verse 20, faith without works is useless. And then in verse 26, "For just as the body without the spirit is dead, so also faith without works is dead." So James certainly makes a case for the topic, doesn't he? Faith without works is dead.
I don't know. I'm completely confused. I got to go back and probably listen to that about 10 times to even figure out where I'm standing. And I'm sure that's where a lot of people are. They're like, I don't even understand that. I just kind of walk away from this subject. And but this is why we're here, is we're going to go over it so we can fully understand it. So let's just take the first part of that. Okay, when he's in there. Or I'll tell you what, I like the fact that where he correlated it to the dead body with dead faith. Explain that.
Well, that's a good place to start, because James is trying to make the correlation of a dead body to being the same as dead faith. And certainly we can understand if somebody is dead, there's no life there. And so the corresponding illustration is that if you're saying that you have faith in Jesus Christ, but there is no corresponding works or no corresponding behavioral expression, then something's not right. It's probably not real. I like to refer to it as the tangibility of faith. The tangibility. Where is the tangible expression of your faith? Where is the visible reality that you are who you say that you are? And James is illustrating for us the practical reality of faith participation. We've said all along that our relationship with Christ is based on the indwelling presence of the triune God, and that he's come to live his life in us and through us. So if that's a reality, then where's the evidence of that reality?
Right. It's not an at-rest type of thing. The Lord's not at rest. When he's coming to indwell us, it's going to be rubber hitting the road kind of stuff.
Well, he's a creator. He is a doer. He is a God of action. So where is the corresponding behavioral expression of the God that you say that you're one with? And that's a good question. It's a fair question. So where is the practical reality of your faith participation? And what James tries to do is he says, just as the body without spiritual function is basically a corpse, so faith without spiritual function is but an empty shell.
Okay. And one other thing is, too, is when we talked about the works and the evidence, so the key part in there is you didn't initiate the work. You didn't do it to get something, or you didn't do it under your own power, your own thought, your own mind. It was something that was initiated. It's really the source. The initiator, Jesus initiated this in you. You participated with him. Therefore, it's a work. Nothing you produce, though.
Exactly. It is a work, but it's his works. It's what he's working in and through you. So to go back to what James is trying to illustrate, just as the body doesn't breathe by inhaling, just as the body that doesn't breathe by inhaling or exhaling is dead. In other words, if there's no back and forth, there's no life there. So faith doesn't function by So faith that doesn't function by the receptivity of God's activity is non-existent. So there's got to be the give and take. There's got to be the relational dynamic of faith to express the behavioral expression of God. Or we could say it this way, just as the body, apart from the vital dynamic of spiritual function, is non-operational. So there's got to be the corresponding reality of life that's being expressed.
So, we've all heard this before in church, sermon, or just somebody talking and saying, the unbeliever out there, the person in the workplace, is looking at you once they see that you're a Christian. So can they tell you're a Christian at work? Can they tell that you're a Christian? That's sort of a way of saying this. It's really not necessarily for the believer to be looking at you saying where are your works. It's more like for the unbeliever, they should be able to see the light. They should be able to see his character, you participating with it. And that's kind of the proof in the pudding, right? Are people asking you, hey, what do you have? Or tell me about this Jesus, or I want to know more. That's kind of how you can yourself gauge it. You shouldn't be gauging it by the actual task. Well, I went and stacked some chairs. Okay, I went and I helped with this thing here. You did these kind of good works. It really probably, again, it's a relationship thing, and it should flow through to other relationships, shouldn't it? With people.
Yeah, yes, it should. And thankfully, though, Derek, we don't have to be judged by the world as to whether it's genuine or it's not genuine. Again, what James is trying to illustrate, that faith without works is useless. So if there isn't a corresponding expression of the faith, then what good is it? Is what he's saying. So the vital dynamic of the functioning presence of the Spirit of Christ, if that's not there, then your relationship's null and void. It's useless. It's meaningless. It's probably not real, is what James is saying.
Yeah. So it's once you get into a relationship with Jesus, it's not like you're going to a deserted island and you're just going to be able to kind of, you always hear people say, well, that's just between me and the Lord, and it's personal, and don't talk about it. I'll talk about it there. That's not how it is. Like you said, he was a doer. He's a creator.
Well, we're always going to have some type of behavioral expression, aren't we?
Yeah. One type or another.
And we derive that from either Satan or God. So if we are Christ ones, if we are Christians, then there needs to be the corresponding visible expression, or what I like to call the tangibility of our faith. Where are the tangibles? Where are the visible evidences of the invisible presence of God being seen in our daily experiences?
Right. Unless you're in a coma, you're going to be exuding. You're going to be, let's say, displaying some sort of character.
Yes.
And it's derived from one source or the other. So you're going to be expressing some kind of character, whether you realize it or not. I mean, it's coming out. So this question is very interesting on the surface, but when you break it down there, it's pretty kind of simple, isn't it? It's you're either doing one or the other, and you should be able to. Is this more for you to be able to judge yourself where you're at?
I don't know that it's to judge ourselves. I think really what James is posing here for us is to get us to understand really the essence of faith. What is faith? Because I think there's a lot of confusion as to what faith is. And faith is best defined, as far as I understand it, as the Christian's receptivity to God's activity. See, that's what James is really posing here. He says, if you say faith, but there's not a corresponding behavioral expression of the character of Christ being manifest through you, then what kind of faith do you have? Who is your faith in? Because you don't have faith in God, or there'd be the corresponding expression of his character. And so the Christian is to be receptive to the grace of God, which is the activity of God in Jesus Christ, in order to experience and allow for the manifestation of Christ's character and activity in our behavior. That's the works that we're all looking for, that we all want to participate in and all want to be allowing for the expression of. And I think with the world standing by and looking to see whether or not it's genuine or not.
Yeah, and that's always the question, isn't it? You know, like you said, we talked about earlier, the unbeliever, the unregenerate person is very consistent because they're deriving from one source and one source only. They don't have the opportunity because they're just not in relationship with Jesus, so they do not have the light.
Right. They
don't
have the opportunity, but they haven't believed yet to where there's been a spiritual exchange whereby they can derive from Christ because Christ is not dwelling within them. Yeah. Once they believe, then they have the opportunity to be the participants, the partners with Jesus, and allow for the behavioral expression of his character, which is good works.
See, that makes it sound a lot more simple than where we started with that. So when we come back, we're going to continue on. We have more things to try to clear this up. And we ask again that you go to cross-life.org and check out the site and try to keep up with us if you've missed anything. And we were going to wait for your questions.
Hey, this is Jason with the Sideline, along with Mike Kelly, new owner-operator in your Mall Chick-fil-A location. We have a mission for you. Eat more chicken! It's a simple 6-day-a-week mission.
And if you choose to accept this mission, go to the Indian River Mall Chick-fil-A right now. Remember, they're closed on Sunday.
Disclaimer, no chickens were hurt during the making of this commercial. This message will self-destruct. Now! This is Jason with the Sideline. Listen, you need a bike? You need your bike repaired? Check out Allen's Bicycle Center.
Allen's Bicycle Center, located in old downtown Vero at 2020 Commerce Avenue. They are the largest and oldest established bike shop in the county. 6,000 square feet of bikes and accessories, and 25 years they've been in this town.
Your bike won't go? They'll fix it. They'll make it go. You want a new one? You can buy one there. They got everything you need to put on that bike, make it work. They even got spin class shoes. Check them out. Tell them the Sideline sent you.
All right, welcome back. We're here with Don Brzezinski, Director of CrossLife Counseling. We're talking spiritual things, and we're talking really, we started with the faith without works is dead, and we're trying to understand what exactly James meant by that. And when we left off, we were talking about what is faith, and that was
the receptivity of God's activity. Our faith is our choice, our tangible expression of believing God and allowing God's grace activity, the very presence of God, to be expressed or to function in us, as us, and through us. And so faith is our participating with the Most High God.
Right. And this is like at the core of what we've been talking about and with performance, and we keep going back to that. And it sure sounds like we're responsible, kind of, and then that would take me, isn't that kind of being in a performance, right? My head's about to explode. Please help.
It would certainly seem to, wouldn't it?
Right.
But not when you understand, once again, that man is not his own point of reference.
Right.
Man is derivative, which means we're deriving, our choice is deriving from a spiritual source. So we could explain it this way. We'll take the word responsibility. Now, for most of us, at least for me, for so many years, especially when I was in school,
Right.
you're responsible to make the grade. You're responsible to pass the class. And sometimes those are challenges for guys like me. So I didn't really like that word responsibility until I got the revelation of knowing who I was in Christ. And then it took on a completely different meaning for me. A man has a response ability. It's almost like a compound word. Response ability, or an availing myself to his ability, availability. So to respond to a spiritual activity and avail myself to God's activity. That's what responsibility means. That puts a whole different understanding to the word, doesn't it?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I always like, because you come up with a lot of these things when you kind of break words down kind of like that. So, and this is one that I really like. And again, the whole thing with all this is, for me and for other people, is when you start getting this, it's liberating. It really is. It's free. His burden is light. All these things. If you have the truth, truth will set you free. Free indeed. What does that really mean? It's just because you tell the truth, you're not going to have any problems. That's the way people take it. No, it's not. Once you have this particular truth, the relationship with the person who is the truth, that's what's liberating. It's really, you don't have, your burden's light. You don't have much to worry about. Do you really? You just participate with them. I mean, you're going to have life issues, trials, which we've talked about in the last episode and things like that, but
the burden's not on your shoulders.
That's it.
In Isaiah 9:6, the government is upon his shoulders. He is your life. He is your God. He is your spiritual reference. You are responsible, but that responsibility is a response to his ability. Kind of like what James is trying to illustrate here. Right. Faith without works. Where is the corresponding ability to your supposed responsibility? In other words,
right.
where is the response to this ability? Where is the source of your Christianity? And so if you are joined to the Lord, there will be the corresponding ability that is expressed through you, which will be Jesus Christ.
Right. And this, I think, also ties in to what we were talking about a couple episodes ago when we're talking about us. When we're talking here about being responsible, we talked about imperatives, right? A lot of people say, well, didn't the Bible tell us to do a lot of different things? Do this, don't do that. And we call them imperatives. And what that relied on was the indicative, which is the person of Jesus Christ. So again, if it's dependent on him, those things, then we have to be responding to his initiation.
That's
which is this is exactly what this is talking about. But then I would say some people would suggest that this faith is of God and that God gives us the faith. Is this true?
Not exactly. And I know that there are many that would maybe adhere to that kind of an understanding. But we don't want to make faith kind of God's part, if you will. Faith is the responsible choice of man. It's the responsible choice of man to derive all from God. If we take that away, then we kind of destroy the derivative understanding of man as a choosing creature. And remember that God designed us as choosing creatures so that we could participate and experience the loving relationship of the triune God. And so we don't want to take that away from man. So faith is not the act of God.
Right. Okay. And just to clear up, and again, this is we're with Don Brzezinski, Director of CrossLife Counseling, the website cross-life.org. And in the past, we've talked about it, that you don't really have free will. You have free choice. There's a difference. Free will is, go make a tree right now. Then if you can will things into existence, you can do it. He gave us the ability to choose, and this is what this is talking about. So we have the ability to choose the faith.
Right. God made us choosing creatures so that we could participate in his glorious character expression and really understand and know personally the intimacy of love, which he is. And so faith is our choice and ours alone. God can't do that for us, or he robs us of our God-created ability to participate with him. In faith, we receive and rest upon Christ. In recognizing that faith is man's volitional choice, that's not to suggest that it has any meritorious benefit as far as, if we make the right choice, then we kind of get God's brownie points. That's not what we're saying. The human choice of faith does not in any way make God dependent upon our response, upon man's response. The response of faith is the willingness of man to be receptive to the activity of God.
And again, the burden's not on us. He's going to initiate it. And, we've heard all sorts of catchphrases around this, but I don't think anybody's really understood it. Like I've always heard, where God guides, he supplies. And, little things like that, which are little nuggets of truth, but just didn't really understand it. Like just thinking, like if I, he guided me there, but I have to do this, and then he'll give me this other stuff. No, he's doing it all. You just need to be receptive to it. I like, you're...
The receptivity of God's activity.
Right.
Faith is my choice to derive from God. Whatever God is initiating at that moment in my life, whatever God is doing at that moment is what we call grace.
Right.
Grace is God at work. Grace is the activity of God, of what God's character expression wants to be in and through me at that very point of neediness that I experience.
So responsibility is really our choice. If you break it down backwards the way you broke it down forwards, if you say, I have the ability to respond to his initiation of...
That's true. I'm availing myself to his ability. I'm responding to his ability. That's what it means to be a responsible believer, Christ one.
Right. And the best part about it is, unlike any other relationship, he's always trying to initiate something. He's always there with you. He's always wanting to be in relationship with you. He's not taking any time off. He's not leaving you. He's not, and that's the fantastic part about it.
Most of us have never had such pure, holy, righteous relationships. So we're always a little bit, we always have a little bit of a question mark, a little bit of a doubt as to the motives, as to the so-called agenda that someone might have in a relationship. But we got to understand that the relationship that we have with Jesus Christ and the faith opportunity that we have to participate with him is as pure as it could possibly be. He is the Holy One. He is the Righteous One. And so as we're choosing to participate with his character expression, it is the highest form of experience, behavioral expression that man could ever think or dream or want to participate with.
Yeah, and it's just such a simple truth, but it's such a... We could talk on and on and on, and matter of fact, I think we did in the past. Again, CrossLife Counseling, it's in Vero Beach, Florida. Don Brzezinski, director, cross-life.org, and the number is 563-0430. And why don't you tell us real quick, what are a couple things that you do down there? What's the main focus over there?
Our bread and butter is we do discipleship counseling, really helping people to understand who they are in Christ, dealing with the behavioral issues that they're struggling with. We also do a wide range of training through seminars and open forums and men's meetings and so forth. We do retreats. We have a free retreat coming up October 11, 12, and 13 right here in Vero Beach at the Holiday Inn Oceanside.
All right, and we're going to be right back after the long break. Listen to Fox News, come back, and we'll get your spirits up.